is a collaboration with quite a number of authors. Jack and I were probably the main two involved. And you can see it's about Turing, but Warhol was involved, and Monroe. You may know some connection between Monroe and Warhol, and you'll see that later if you don't know the connection. So this had 42 chapters in it on Alan Turing. I'm a fan of Douglas Adams and Hitchhiker's Guide, so I was very careful to add chapters, delete chapters. Ended up with 42 at the end. And actually, Alan Turing was only 10 days short of his 42nd birthday when he sadly died, probably of suicide. So here's the four main authors. Jack Copeland says he's a philosopher and a mathematical logician. So he's very insistent that. So he's half mathematics, half philosopher. I'm a computer scientist. Mark Sprevak in Edinburgh is a philosopher, and we've got another mathematician, Robin Wilson. You may recognise that name, and he is related. In fact, am I being recorded? He doesn't like me saying this, but his father had to set up the Open University to give him a job. So that's where he worked as a mathematician, also in Oxford. So, we wanted a nice cover for the book. So this was actually a picture done in 2014, so it was available. We thought, well, that's quite a nice picture. It's a new picture of Alan Turing. So that was going to be our first possible cover. Eventually, we thought, well, it looks a bit traditional, So we did use it as our frontispiece. You can see it's got down at the bottom there's Enigma machine cogs, and that's U-boats in the background being bombed and so on as a result of the Enigma machine and the Alan Turing managing to decode it. So anyway, it did survive as the frontispiece of the book. But then I thought, well, I'm now a fan of Alan Turing and Warhol. So I started doing some fancy things. This initial one was just playing around with Earthman View. It's a very simple program, nothing with AI or anything, but you can do all these funny things like improving the quality, you can sort of solarize it, etc. So I just played around. I quite like this one, that suddenly this sort of spark of lightning appears in the background, which you don't notice in the original there. It's actually just the change from dark to light. So, I was playing around with that, and I think that's slightly making it a bit less smooth and so on. And then I thought, well, I like Alan Turing, and at the time there was a thing called Warholize Me. I think it's become Pictomizer now. So you can still play with it. Nothing to do with AI at this point. But it makes it very easy to create an Andy Warhol style matrix of pictures. So I just did this and showed it to the other authors. This was in 2013, so it was a year after the centenary. And people quite liked it, the other authors, rather than the boring normal cover. But we thought, well, we ought to get this done properly. Jack, are you there? Jack, is he there? At the back? No, okay. Not to worry, I will just talk about his part. If he appears at the end, he can do this bit again. But anyway, you probably all know this picture, which I think was taken by Zula.
The Warhol retrospective.
Yes, in New York.
In New York, at the Whitney Museum,
yes.
yeah.
You have to be a bit careful with taking pictures of Andy Warhol things, because the foundation is very litigious and so on. So we couldn't use any real Andy Warhol pictures or anything, because that would cause all sorts of friction. But that's the original picture that Marilyn Monroe, that Andy Warhol just pinched. Presumably didn't pay the photographer any money. This is the picture that we pinched of Turing there. And that's in the King's College archive in Cambridge, where he was an undergraduate. And they've got a lot of material. There's a lot of digital stuff online if you want to look at that. So they're quite good at digitizing all the stuff they've got. There's a little detail from that picture that we saw just now. And we sort of used that with some friends of Jack who are proper artists. I'm just a mere amateur artist. But anyway, they worked up this version with Alan Turing using that photograph based on the style of Andy Warhol. So this was done in about 2016. So this is what we sent to OUP and said, you know, we'd like to make the cover something like this. And then OUP obviously have to mix it all up. So this is what OUP eventually came up with. So that is the cover that we ended up with based on that picture. And we hope it's quite a striking image, and we're quite proud of the fact that we went through all this process to produce it. I mean, there it is on the Blackwell bookshelf. So I think we think it stands out better than most Alan Turing books. So certainly they bothered to put it facing forward. So that's the story of the cover. I mean, since then, obviously, we've had this huge AI revolution. So I've just been playing with generative AI of, you know, Alan Turing. Well, you can see, so this is 2022 when I first started playing around with DALL-E and so on. Well, Jack Copeland is very dismissive of these, saying it doesn't even look like Alan Turing, you know, which is probably true. But you notice that they're all pretty monochrome, because most of the pictures that it's got available Alan Turing are all the black and white pictures of Alan Turing. There's not much. Well, there were no colour photographs ever taken of Alan Turing. So this is now in 2024, so it's getting a bit more colourful. I guess there's more colourised pictures or whatever of Alan Turing available for DALL-E to gobble up off the internet, perhaps even our cover, I don't know, this time. So you know, DALL-E has been changing. Each time you use it, you get slightly different results. Still not very artistic. I think it's interesting to try it. And this is what you get if you ask for a photorealistic. Well, they're not very photorealistic, but anyway, that's what DALL-E spews out. You ask for something photorealistic.
You never met him.
Yes. You can ask to make it look like Andy Warhol. Well, I suppose it does slightly better. It did actually produce this matrix like that, and others and so on. It doesn't look like Alan Turing, but it's got something that looks vaguely Warhol-like, at least. There are other, I've tried it with lots of different generative AI systems. This is Deep Dream Generator, which is quite fun to play with. And you can see they've just sort of slightly manipulated his face. So these are more photorealistic, but they've just sort of moved the pixels around a bit. And even asking for this in the style of Alan Warhol, I think isn't that successful. Anyway, that's what he came up with. He wanted something in that Warhol style. It's just another crayon. They don't look like Alan Turing, most of these. Perhaps that middle one is not too bad. But, one thing I noticed is they nearly all have ties. Because virtually every picture of Alan Turing is actually quite formally dressed. Picture taken. The only informal ones, he's not really the centre of attention. There's some of him running and so on. You wouldn't know it's particularly of Alan Turing. One thing I think that's going to be really good with AI is actually colorizing pictures. So this is just the colorized version of that picture that we used, which is, well, it's not brilliant colors, but at least it is colorized and it's fully automatically done. And I think that's going to get better and better. So that's going to be a useful use of AI, I think, for all these black and white photos we have. And actually a little advert for my talk on Wednesday. I'm going to be talking about colorizing old Victorian pictures from black and white, and also how they started with colour photography. But now, because Graham knows these photographs disintegrate, so all the early colour photos have all lost one of the colours, they've all gone green or something. You can actually use, well, a lot of them, there's a lot in the History of Science Museum in Oxford, and they've done some restoration, but I think they haven't used AI, and now I think AI does a better job than they've done in a professional museum. So anyway, that's what I'll be talking about on Wednesday morning, just to encourage those of you at the conference to turn up first thing on Wednesday morning. I mean, one thing I did here was, yes, apparently he had blue eyes, but it's very difficult to get him with blue eyes. That's just me trying to give him blue eyes by hand, not by AI. it's very difficult to get AI to do anything with just saying blue eyes. I think this is probably one of the most successful AI systems I've seen, Mid-Journey. That does look vaguely like Alan Turing. It also looks vaguely like a real watercolour. This is, somebody asked it to use Turing watercolour style, and that's what it came up with. So I think Mid-Journey is doing quite well. I mean, one interesting thing is that is on Wikimedia Commons, and this is what they say. Anything done with AI, no copyright, you can do what, you put no effort into it. So we can put anything on Wikimedia Commons with no copyright issue. So you can dispute that, because you might say I had to type in a very complicated description of what I wanted, but that's the Wikimedia Commons position. So if you do something with AI, somebody might put it on Wikimedia Commons. You might not like it, well, you can argue. That's where we are at the moment. So that's last year. I've got new eyes, so that's when I was having my new eyes done. I've had cataracts, so I can see again. That's why I've not got glasses now. And it was in the exhibit last year. So I'll say thank you especially to Sean. Sean's here somewhere. There he is. Yes, thank you for exhibiting it. Thank you for Graham to organise. He's our great leader. We all bow to Graham there. And thank you to you for listening to me. I'm sorry, I'm not too far over time. And there should be glasses of wine next door. You can all have a chat. You can look at some of the Springer books. Jack is still not there. Is that right? Or? No. No, okay. Not to worry. Yeah.
Well, at least we tried.
Yes. So, yeah.